Here we are with Katie Boyle. Welcome to the Craic Comedy Club.
Yeah, welcome back. When was the last time you were in Ireland? It's been in New York City for a while now.
I was back in the summer just for a few days because my sister was in the flat, but I haven't.
Was in the what?
Irish Music Festival. She was
thank
doing
God. It's always
Kill.
like, if someone's a quick trip, it's the thank God. It was either like a music festival or like a funeral. So that
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
God is like my sister. Oh no, okay, good. This is good news.
Yeah, no, good news, definitely. Yeah.
What
So
did
it
you
was
think
just
the
4
flat
days.
was?
Well, I don't know. That's why.
You
but
thought it was
like,
Irish
you
for
were
funeral?
Smiling. You were smiling. So
It was my sister's fla that night.
Yeah.
my sister's fly, but I'm
Very
smiling
sad.
because I'm still
We had
holding
all
back
the-
the pain.
Do you
Ham
play
sandwiches.
trad as well?
No, not at all. She was on the main stage and everything. So,
Sweet. What did she play?
like it's she calls it buska kyo, but I guess it's a small music box accordion. But like,
I love them little things.
yeah, she's just like going mad. It's
They're
crazy.
good because that's just holding on her lap.
Oh
almost,
no,
isn't
it's
it?
the bigger one. Sorry,
Oh, the big one, right.
it's a quite big, yeah.
So it's on her,
But it's on her lap, yeah. But it's
'cause
not the small one.
It's more freeing too. You can move your head around because like the fiddles, violins, you got them. You're sort of trapped
Yeah.
with the
Yeah,
the
yeah, that's
neck
true. But it's a
and a,
lot
f-
to
and
learn.
a flute, tin whistle, all that. You're stuck in your mouth, so you can't sing it. So.
Yeah. But you know,
That
like
one's-
when you touch your head and you do this thing, I can't do that. So I can't imagine like, it just blows my mind.
What are you proposing? That she could be a one-person band, like singing and doing this and like playing the
Yeah.
drums?
Yeah, yeah.
You want to use every part.
Well, I love watching people do the fiddle, but then like they are glued to that thing.
Yeah, they must have awful neck problems.
Yeah.
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 And you know how like
I-
guitars you can have left and right. I learned just this year that like fiddle, like that's only like one shoulder. Like they don't have the other way. They're like, no, you have to tilt your head that way. That's it.
Sorry, I just glazed out for a second when because there was 3 people just walked in.
Yeah, who were they? I didn't turn. around.
They
I
want
didn't even
to.
notice. I have like that peripheral vision problem. I'm like a horse. with
Oh yeah.
blinders on.
yeah.
I find that so hard.
That's a good problem to have
I
because
don't-
you want to be able to just hone in on one thing in life,
I guess so. Yeah.
which is stand up for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Stand
yeah,
up
Yes,
for
I'm
me.
going straight ahead to Stantonville, which is just so people know listening, we're on the stage. Well, it's just a rug on the ground, but of the club. So there will be people coming in and out who are like, "Is this where the comedy is?" You know,
Yeah.
that'll happen a few times. I
It
think
was-
because it's before the gig.
There was a
We're
little
recording
write
it.
up about it. Did you see that?
In where?
In the Irish Times ticket.
Oh yeah.
So I think that
Did you jump on board, or did they just pick up on it?
I have no like I actually this is so funny. I had Googled how to submit to Irish events and I didn't figure out how to do it. I did it on one thing where you just put it in like Dublin to do,
Yeah.
and that was the only thing I did. But I had no idea how to, and I messaged someone and being like, "Is there any way you could get it in the papers?" And they were like, "Oh, I wouldn't know how to do that." But anyway, then someone just randomly did it.
Nice.
So there was and it was really
Because
funny.
it wasn't us, I can tell you that.
I know,
much.
and it was,
Yeah,
and my
we wouldn't know how
picture
to
was
do
there.
it.
But it was funny the way he said it. It was very Irish because he was like, like all the details about me and saying like Crack Den and stuff like that. And then goes, watch the YouTube clips and sure they're good. So worth a few puns. But the way he said, sure they're good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Anywhere else in the
Worth
world,
a
that'd
few
be an
puns.
insult,
Yeah.
but here,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
thing in Ireland. You talk about this on stage as well. Like if things are built up too much in Ireland, they're like, who do they think they are?
Yeah, if he was like,
They
it's
have tickets
amazing,
on
people would be like, I'm not going. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
what I'll
yeah.
tell myself anyway.
Yeah. Sure, they're good. Like,
yeah, that's so funny.
for
And then I was like,
Irish.
fuck, I think my long YouTube clips are like old and shite. So I was like, when I read that, I was like, gotta go private some of these clips
Yeah,
before the
yeah,
event goes on. Because, you'd
All
have
the
stuff up there
unlisted
for
clips.
years. Yeah.
Has 48 videos up, like 3 you can see, the rest are
Yeah.
unlisted or whatever.
But yeah, so it's good to be here. And
Yeah,
Are you bringing the show anywhere else?
just around America. So I'll be in Texas soon enough. I already did it in Texas. So it'll be a new
Where
I
in
have to
Texas?
fucking think of a new show for in 3 months.
A new show in 3 months.
Houston. Well, I have. Okay, so I've been working on a lot of new stuff. So I'll do a little chunk of it tonight, just as like a. I don't know, because I can't keep going straight. I know I'm gonna say to myself I'm not gonna do it, and then I will do it. But anyway, yeah, I have been working on the new thing because
Okay.
they all saw it in September, so I have to. It's the exact same place. So I think this will be, unless I get something in February. I have a few gigs in February, but yeah,
It's good
because
discipline to write a new show. I'll be back here in 6 months.
I know. It's not as mental. It's
and
madness.
everyone's going, we're buying a ticket right now. They're on their phone like, okay, I need to run you out.
Well,
Yeah.
and I'll put like some of the other stuff in it as well because I feel like we'll see.
Yeah,
I
you're
don't know.
hiding some older bits.
Yeah,
If they're
so-
good, people would still enjoy that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
fine.
They're kind of because
Yeah,
I post a lot of my stuff on Instagram anyway, so I kind of feel like people see some of it anyway, and
Look,
they
if
can't.
they're
They
a
don't
super
mind.
fan who's watched all your stuff, then like they're going to come anyway.
And it's
you know,
always changing. Like I don't write any of my stuff, so I try to keep it as conversational as possible, so that it's kind of like, You know, I'll say it's,
How much crowd work do you do per show? Do you think?
if I'm headlining, I do a little bit, but I won't do a lot. It's
Okay.
usually because I MC a lot in New York,
Right.
so because that's how you can survive off it there. So like when I MC, it's like so much crowd work clips.
Yeah.
But then when I actually do I'm like, oh, it's nice. I can just
You got,
yeah.
I got something to say.
yeah. But maybe in Texas I'll do a lot of crowd work.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no,
So when you're hosting, so here, like, I was going to ask something like this, like, because an open mic or a club in New York, there could be like, 20 acts on or something. So it's a lot.
well, yeah, I don't
Do
need
you
to.
host
I
any
don't.
of those?
I don't need to. I wouldn't even do open mics over there. That's like fucking like you'd want to die afterwards. You know, you get
They
to a
are-
certain point where you thank God you don't have to do them anymore because
Oh,
Did you get up on the open mic circuit in New York? Is that
I
where you
started in New York. Yeah.
New York's open mics was I went to New York like 5 years ago. I was just starting comedy and I was working on a documentary traveling around America. It was cool. And then a night off, I went to an open mic and fuck me, most traumatizing experience of my life.
Oh yeah, in so many ways.
Everyone had 2-minute spots.
Yeah.
There was like 30 or more comedians.
yeah.
And
They're
you
all
had to-
judging each other.
They're all judging each other. There wasn't a single audience member. No one was listening to anyone.
They're all in their notebook.
They're all in their
and
notebook.
then upset when people aren't listening to them.
Yeah.
It's
and
mental.
then so it was kind of like whoever had the biggest shock factor would get the
Yeah.
most reaction. So people
and then
come-
they don't do well with a real audience.
Absolutely, yeah.
Ah.
No one wants to just like people, young men in their 20s getting up being angry and saying, "So who eats ass? I eat ass." And then
yeah.
you're just like,
They
I
all
don't
eat
know.
arse over there. It's mental, apparently.
Is that also? It's not actually just that one guy I saw. There's more of them.
They all talk about eating arse.
Yeah, it's a big
Just to get
topic.
your attention.
Big topic.
Yeah, it's to kind of shock you, I suppose. It's-
But I mean, just even in regular conversation.
What?
Yeah, they're just obsessed with it.
they're
Yeah.
so open.
Reels
They're
is-
so open about all their kinks and things that
Yeah.
we would. It can be quite shocking at some of the open mics where, as you said, it's people who now have a platform to say absolutely bonkers thoughts. They don't really have much intention of a stand-up comedy career.
Yeah.
They just have this now platform to unleash
Yeah.
like horrendous things that they shouldn't. No one should say.
And most female comics over there, because there isn't a lot when in the grand scheme of things compared to, especially with the open mic scene, there'll be so many men, like thousands of men, and then you'll see a lot of female comics kind of like move up, you know, because they're in it to fucking. No woman
Yeah.
does comedy unless she's like, I gotta get successful. Okay, if I'm gonna have a kid by 35, you know. So I feel
also
like
if they're going to suffer the
I feel like
open mics
they
of 30 sweaty men,
they get out of it quicker. They kind of will be like, okay, I'm going to put on a show. I'm going to do a podcast. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I can to get out of that. And same with immigrants over there, you'll see. So there'll be some men who won't kind of get past so there's always, so my point is that there's so many female comics who would have gotten like stalkers from the open mics, or like we'll all have these like weird stories, or because there's great male comics over there, but then there's some weird, dodgy kind of, and thank God they're doing open mics in one way, because if they were just in the regular world, I don't know what they would
Keep
be
them in
doing.
one building. Keep them in one
You know,
building.
in
Yeah.
one way. So it can be a bit, and then there's some great ones that are like the place where I have a show. It's a place called QED, and I always and people would message me and be like, oh, I want to start comedy in New York, and I'll always say I'd go to that open mic, because they've created because Christian Finnegan's wife, and they've created a really nice space. So that is kind of, and they wouldn't really tolerate anything too mental. I was really embarrassed because obviously New York is very PC for the most part, and I'm okay with that. Do you know what I mean? I'm kind of like, because I joke about America and they get really offended anyway. So you're still, I'm still pissing people off. And I'm not saying anything that's not PC, but like, yeah, whatever. But there was my friend Tori Piskin was going to Paris, and years ago, like 5 years ago, I did Paris, and so I was like a part of this Facebook group that someone had added me into. But at the time, there wasn't questions to get into it. And so I said, I'll go back on Facebook. I never use Facebook. I'll add you to it. And when she sent me a screenshot, she had to answer questions to get in. And it was like, you can only join this group if jokes about, and they said Jews, and she's obviously Jewish. If jokes about George Floyd are okay. If jokes about, but they did like, rape is okay. And she screenshot back to me saying like, should I join this group? And I was like, no, don't. I'll find shows a different way. This is a bit mental.
That's so odd, because I've heard of the reverse of that, where people go to gigs, especially university gigs, where there'll be a clause sent to the comedian being like, you can't joke about these things, and then sometimes it's way too broad. It's like, or anything that can be triggering for whatever, and it's just like, oh, how do you even work around those rules? But to say the opposite
It's
is
so
like, what?
weird.
It doesn't need to be said. Why are you
Yeah,
imposing
why'd
this
you-
on me?
It's not like she was gonna get in, ask about shows, and then be like, but by the way, you can't. Like comedians aren't going. Comedians are the last ones that are gonna say.
Yeah,
I would
you-
never joke about those things.
You never need to say that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
the other thing.
It's
just
so weird. But I'm like, no, don't. Because also, I don't want to. I'm like, I don't want to get in trouble in the future. And she just want to get, like, at least I can say I joined this group before that was there. I'm like, just don't join it.
Yeah.
That's
No
too
one,
much.
no one wants to sign a piece of paper that says, yeah, I think it's okay to be joking about Jews and rape and like you
It's so
don't.
weird. And it's also like, sorry, you know, I've heard some female comics do great rape jokes. I can't imagine a guy doing a good, maybe the
wait till
old,
you hear my set.
maybe the old Tommy Tiernan one that he couldn't probably do anymore.
Yeah.
But it's like, it should just be funny. Like, doesn't matter what you're talking about. Like,
He
the
doesn't,
people
and he
don't-
doesn't even
people are
need to.
forgetting-
Why would
people
they
are
even say
forgetting
that? Just
about-
say a question, be like, "Be funny," or "Are you funny? You can join this group."
Make sure
Yeah.
you rip it.
Yeah.
Just like rip to be funny. Like the only reason you should be offended is if you didn't laugh at all.
Yeah.
It's like if it's free speech. If it's
That's-
like that's like saying you can't paint a picture of Jews. Of you know.
Like,
I'm not
if
saying
you
that,
look at
but it
Andrew
is an art form. It's freedom of speech. It's,
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
it's one of the one places still
Yeah.
left.
Yeah.
Put it into a song. No one says you can't write a song about this.
Yeah, but the
Do you
thing
know?
is, you don't. Okay, great jokes are great jokes. Andrew Schultz does all the fucking. He's one of my favorite comedians, and he does like mental jokes. Like they are, but the people he's joking about are laughing because it's good jokes.
Yeah.
But then you'll have some fucker who's not good at jokes, and he's just up there being like, and you're like, well, this is just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Now I've
Yeah.
paid money for you to just make me hear
Yeah,
about
yeah.
something really violent
They're
that's
letting
actually
out
not funny.
really dark thoughts and trying to shock
they
people.
sound more
for
like
a
fucking
kick.
Hitler, do you know? It's
Yeah.
like, sorry, is this a rally for white supremacy? What's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all. I was thinking like it's a little bit of a power trip. Sending something like that to a comedian, being like, you have to please agree that these things are going to be joked about or can be whatever, or not be joked about
Yeah.
and can't be. Like either way, it's a bit of a power trip on the booker. Like, look, if you're that keen on either being politically correct or being politically incorrect, then just you as the booker should book acts that you think are appropriate to your. Not like put it
Yeah.
on the acts to be like, you have to agree to these like no, stop your power trip. Like
Thank God I sent it to her and not someone else, because someone else probably wouldn't tell me, and they'd be like,
Well, and I would've
Jesus,
thought, "Jeez,
Katie,
Katie's a bit mad, eh?"
she's been mental. She doesn't like
Yeah,
Jewish
yeah, yeah.
people."
Yeah. So back to eating ass and Des Bishop.
Oh yeah, he
got-
thought because he said to my friend, I think she's going to be a bit too innocent for it, and she was like, actually, I think that'd be really good because Katie's. She might not have a lot of experience, but she's good at like asking, like genuinely being like, "Wait, what is that?" And that's a good representation of Irish people. And people did say that they were kind of like, "Yeah, we didn't know." Like, you know, they're talking about these wild kinks, and good for you and fair play to you. Because I'm like, do whatever you want, but I'm still like, sorry, what is that?
sounds like you sound like one of those old timey like 1960s Irish farmers. They're like, fair play to you, just not in my backyard. You know, that's all I'm saying. You do you. Like when I don't want to be.
But you know, you do. It does take a lot of like. It's just it's such a bad analogy, but it's like a brave new world, and I felt like that when I went over to America, and I was like, I'm going back to the woods because it's.
Yeah.
But like, no one's read that book, so I can't think of another analogy.
I
but
find that weird, like now, because with the internet and more kinks, and then people find more kinks over the kinks, and but there'll be certain things that people will be into. So someone will be like, you know, that strap with the bowling ball, the billiard ball in the mouth, like in Pulp Fiction. Someone will be like unstrapping that the buckle just to be like take the red ball out of the mouth, just be like, yeah, that's too far for me. You do you, and then just put the strap
Yeah.
back on, because there'll be levels of like.
It is levels, and like whatever you're into and whatever you're capable with, and there has to be something with us and shame, because I would feel guilty now if that was.
Catholic,
I wouldn't be able
Catholic
to enjoy
guilt
it.
and shame, do you think? Maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. I would just feel like I would
regular
feel.
person.
I just wouldn't be able to enjoy it.
It's
But
a gimp mask kind of thing.
yeah,
I would. Yeah, but like not out of a sense of shame. I just be like, oh, why am I doing this? You know.
it wouldn't be sexy
Yeah.
to me.
yeah. Like
I do
It's
like-
too
good
much- too much
old
logistics.
good old fashioned sex is sexy. Like I don't know why.
It's great. Although, I've never used a sex swing, but I want to, but not from the sex part. The swing part sounds fun,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
nip, just like wee, push me
yeah,
higher.
yeah. You just want a
Whee!
solo sex
Just
swing.
a swing indoors is fun. Like
Yeah.
if someone like, do you want to use a sex swing? And be like, yeah, but you don't have to be there or not, because I can kick my legs up.
That's
and back.
such a commitment to indoors to have a sex swing. Well, you need serious reinforcement. You can't
beams.
just,
and
yeah.
that's a big.
That's really
Yeah,
annoying.
I don't know. I as well, you know, I'd have friends who'll do all this crazy stuff on a one night, the first night, and then they're kind of nervous about texting the person, and it's like, you did like the most wildest sex stuff to me. And then the other thing is too, I think when you're in a relationship, it's nice to save those as you go along. You know, like I think kinks are actually fun to extend your relationship because like a year in, you're like, oh, let's try a finger in the arse or whatever. And then that's like nothing for like my New York friends.
You're taking it slow, Katie. You're taking it.
I like that though. I like having things to look forward to. But but like, isn't it great?
It's Christmas.
But isn't it great that people can explore these kinks or whatever and talk? I think them talking about it and stuff, being able to be like, this is what I like. And I think most partners would be like, okay, let's try it.
So is Des...
He's not in the podcast anymore.
Oh, he's not in it. Okay.
No, once him and Hannah started dating, I think, and he was also out in the Hamptons and it was COVID, and I think he was kind of like, I don't really have, this topic isn't interesting to me anymore. So which was great because then I got to do it myself.
Cool.
So it was nice to fly away from the flock, or what's it called?
Flee the nest.
Flee the nest. Yeah.
Fly away from the flock, though. I think that's that could be something new as well.
Get shifting. Get shifting.
Nice.
Because I find like with. Do you think that people get like they find someone they really like and then they work on their sexual bits and pieces and they get their kinks up, and then when that splits up, they're like, okay, well I've reached this level of kinkiness. I know I like this. So do you think people carry that over and then that's their next default?
Yeah, that's their minimum.
Oh yeah, you're
does
probably
that
right. That makes sense. Yeah, because then if you find out with a partner that you're into like, you know, BDSM, you're probably more likely to go onto an app and match with people with BDSM the next one, and then you level up.
Yeah, you can't go down.
Computer games, you level up.
But it's the same with porn. They say, because I never watched porn, but with my boyfriend now, we will just a little bit, and like he can just
2 minutes.
He could just do the gifs. The little gifs get me off the little thumbnails because I'm like, Jesus, but I'm very sensitive to it. Whereas a lot of people, like a lot of my girlfriends, are like desensitized to porn, or like guy friends. I've had guy friends who were like, they had to stop watching porn because they couldn't come during sex.
Wow.
Because you just become desensitized.
That's full on, isn't it?
So at least if you save it.
When someone that you really like naked doesn't do it for you.
Yeah.
You need more. Like that is bad.
And now they're following people home after the open mics.
And now they're just eating ass just to write shitty jokes.
Yeah.
Imagine you sit through. So then people will be going, I need to do this sex position so I can talk about it on stage because everyone's talking about it on stage.
Yeah.
But you might not be into it.
I do feel like that with like when I was dating crazy lads, that I was like, well, at least I'll have a story out of it, which wasn't really which was pretty unhealthy. Yeah.
That's punishment, like self punishment.
Yeah, you're like, well, and I would say that to my like Tori when she'd have a terrible date, and I'd be like, at least you have a story out of it. And we were just talking about it recently, and I was like, that was really toxic.
Yeah. That is a weird thing we tell ourselves. Like, you don't even need, even just comedians, but I think in general, a lot of people, like, if they've toxic relationships, you kind of have this like optimistic slant sometimes in life where you're like, what a story for the girls, what a story for the lads.
Must be an Irish thing as well.
Yeah, maybe.
We're kind of like, oh, sure, it'll be grand.
Yeah, sure, we're miserable, but sure, we'll get a laugh out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and from an outsider, you're not supposed to be happy here. That's what people have in their head. Yeah. Like if you're too happy, for instance, the Happy Pair twins. There's two healthy vegan-y dudes that live in Greystones.
You haven't heard of these?
No.
You left Ireland just in time.
So anyway,
not the Jedward.
No, but that's similar.
Okay. Identical twins.
Similar to Jedward. They're just really happy, and so in that sense, people like the too happy.
Yeah. Where's the bodies?
A bit of the Jamie Oliver
and like
what you should eat if you want to be healthy. People don't like that.
6 a.m. winter ocean swims and healthy lifestyle.
Are they posting about that? Oh,
yeah, that's their that's their slant, and then avocados and food.
And obviously in America, Americans love that. They love self-improvement. They love, But in Ireland, it's just like. He's too happy.
Well, I would say so being in America, I'm would be quite positive, happy person, but only because I think it's quite rude to put your depression on other people. And
I keep it private.
I'm like, fucking take that shit. I fucking hate when people do that to me. I'm like, I'm not qualified to
Americans are mental for doing that, though.
Oh my God. First day, be like, my father abandoned me. And I'm like, fuck's
on the fucking bus in front of everyone, publicly, like you're just like, that should be a secret. That's why...
Yeah.
They don't get embarrassed.
But they don't know. And in one way, that's great. You can learn from that, where it's kind of like, I come back here and I see people being a bit like secondhand embarrassment, and we, are mortified, like going up to say like, this isn't actually my drink, which is in America, to be like, sorry. And it's actually not that big of a deal to say, actually, this wasn't the drink I ordered. Thank you so much. You know what I mean? But with the Americans, they have toxic happiness where they feel like they have to take the pills, they have to take everything, they have to be happy all the time. And in Ireland, I think, you know, we're okay being sad, but I think they can learn that, because I think it's okay to be sad sometimes. And then
the balance.
Kind of balance out.
Miyagi was right. The secret to happiness and the secret to life is balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't have.
But
all
we could be
ups
happier
without
too.
downs.
Yeah.
Because I'm very happy,
Speak for
and
yourself.
I know, but like, because like I would be openly like, you know, everything's great, and then Irish people in New York, Americans would be like, oh, everybody must be so happy, and they'll be like, don't base it off her, we're not, you know. But I think, I think
She's deranged. We're not all that happy. We're not all happy as Katie over there.
But it's just more that I wouldn't tell people I was sad, you know. I'd just be like, keep it to myself.
Yeah, possibly like a small inner circle of people.
Yeah.
But they kind of.
I think that's normal. I think that's normal. You don't want to tell everyone. I mean, it is good for processing. You know, we're processing things. But I think maybe Americans found out they can process it faster if they tell a bus full of people instead of one person at a time.
Americans are funny too as well. They'll ask things that people in Ireland wouldn't ask. You know, they'll double down, or you know, they'll always ask you how you got your visa, which is kind of like, it's just, I don't think we would ever ask an immigrant here how you got your visa.
That seems a bit rude, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
or they'll ask
how
like,
did you get in?
they might ask like something like, what do your parents do? Let's say, like, this happens to me a lot. Like, what do your parents do? And I'll be like, my dad's a guard. But what does your mother do? And I was like, well, I actually don't speak to my mother, but my stepmother is a social care worker. And they're like, oh, so you don't speak to your mother? Why don't you speak to your mother? And I'd be like, oh, well, you know, we just had a really bad relationship, and you know, she has some issues she needs to deal on. And it gets to the point where I'm kind of trying to say it in a certain way that they get that it's like, it wasn't a great relationship, but then they're getting uncomfortable. So now I'm like, but I'm okay, I'm happy, I'm good. So now I'm having to reassure them. But I just feel like that wouldn't happen with an Irish person. It'd be kind of like they get the subtle
Although you would drive them mental with the little hook of like, I don't talk to my mother, but you might say, anyway, I was going to the shop. You're like, whoa, hold on, you know, you're just.
I want to know about that.
They'd ask behind your back.
Yeah.
I want to know.
You can't just leave a little hook dangling like that and then just move on. You're like, what's with the mother? I want to hear more about the mother.
I think I don't usually say, but I think I just say maybe my stepmother, and then they'll be like, well, where's your, you know what I mean? They'll always ask, but they've no problem. That's kind of their. They try to get really close really quickly. They're very
Well, like
very
people
open.
like there's some nations like Sweden, Swedish, Dutch, places like really nice people, really nice places. But yeah, they're the opposite. Like they're fine with their own. They will let you in, but it'll take a while.
Yeah.
You could leave a hook dangling for a long time in Sweden. They won't even take a bite. They're like, no, we're happy with our fish.
Well, I found with Americans, and some of them are great, but they'll latch on quickly, but then they're gone quickly. Do you know what I mean? As in like. They could be best friends with you for a month, and then you wouldn't hear from them for another 3 months, which is like, but you just have to you have to know that they're not, sometimes it's not as, like they be saying I love you and stuff like that, but that's not,
Don't take it personally.
Unless it's a year of a I've had a few people like latch on and then kind of disappear, and then
they're my best friend. And then
I've heard
German. Not your best friend.
German people have given out to me about Irish people in a similar light, where they said,
Really?
Irish, now they might not say I love you so quick, but the Irish can be so friendly, especially on nights out where like people are just like you're out for a few drinks, so like whatever German guy or a few people are out for a drink, and then all of a sudden they spend like a whole extended night with like a group of Irish people and have one of the best nights of their lives. And then the next day they think like, wow, I just made some Irish friends, and it's like, well,
you know, I guess that's true.
So then their head, like they're used to, if that kind of bonding happens, that's like how a friendship forms, and we're like, that's how drinking happens.
If there's a Venn diagram of Americans and Irish, that bit that crosses over is like tipsy Irish people are like as happy as regular Americans.
That's really
and
true.
kind of as open in many ways in terms of like, let's get to know one another. Let's chat away. Let's not.
So they can just be drunk all the time.
It's a real bonding thing, because my brothers and sisters are much younger than me. And then for New Year's Eve, I wasn't sure whether or not to go to the local pub, but then I was like, oh, I should go, because this is our probably only second time actually drinking together, because they've just turned 18. So I was like, oh, that's important for the bonding. So I went down and like got drunk with them. But you know that it is funny how that's like a real bonding.
I think like one night out with someone or a couple of people, you know, and drinking together and having fun. That's probably the equivalent, like dog years. That's like the equivalent of 7 years sober friendship. Is a drink, because if you see people on the street,
7 years.
No, seriously, like if you see people on the street and they're like, "Hey, Bucko," and they've got nicknames for each other and secret handshakes, big hugs. It's one of the two things. They've known each other since they were like kids in school, or one night out together in Ibiza. It's fun, doesn't it? So you're right. Like
There
drinking
is.
does bond
Yeah.
people. Like
And I
more than
do.
ever.
I like when I talk about Americans. Sometimes an American will be like, they think that I'm saying, I'm not saying bad. Like I'm with an American, do you know. So
Yeah,
And
I love Americans as well.
I
just to
buy my
clarify,
tickets in Texas.
yeah, we've just kind of been shitting on them but they're actually, you
But
know,
they're fun to shit on because like they know it themselves. They're fun to have.
they're good
Americans
at
great.
taking a shit
Yeah, they're
on
like.
them. They're
for
good
the-
at,
for
you know,
the
you can
most
take the
part.
piss out of Americans more than a lot of other countries.
Yeah, and
And
when
they
the
love it.
ones that like get too sensitive about it, I'm like, you're the small percentage. But like, cause my boyfriend, like, I roast him all the time, and he doesn't give a shit. And then he's very open with his emotions, which is really nice. Do you know, he'll be like, telling me he loves me or that I'm beautiful, or like, tell me that I'm beautiful every day, which I think that's like definitely a cultural difference.
Yeah.
No Irish man to be telling you you're beautiful every day. Or maybe. My dad was like, why are you saying that? You've been out the country for 8 years. And I was like, well, I had 2 or 3 long-term, like 3 serious relationships in Ireland. But I was like, my whole dating life was in Ireland before. And so, but that was younger too. So I don't know, that was early 20s.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I really shouldn't.
I'm with a lovely Spanish lady, and you are beautiful if you're listening right now. Irish men saying you're beautiful to lovely women. Yeah, we used to definitely not do it. But it was kind of beaten into me by my lovely Spanish lady. She was like,
that's, yeah.
not in a, like, you need to say that. She was like, you're too tepid. You need to let me
More
know
mo-
things more.
Of course,
And
she's Spanish.
Spanish, you let
Need
me
to
know
dial up the
instantly.
heat.
Dial up the heat. And I
Yeah.
have. Over 5 years, we've dialed it up.
Where's
And
she from? She's Spain or?
Barcelona.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah.
She's great.
And on the flip side, my wife is from North City, like North Dublin, North City, like North Inner City Dublin, and I'll tell her she's beautiful every day, nearly every day. Like she won't even. It's just doesn't even give a shit.
She's like, what did you do now, Damo?
Well, she probably
Why are you saying
she
that?
probably clocks it, but I feel like Irish women have trained to be like, will you stop? You're embarrassing me.
Yeah.
Because even on stage, like Leland opened he emceed the Whelan's gig, and he was like talking about his girlfriend. He was like, "Oh, I like you guys know her, and I love her a lot." And I was like, "Fuck's sake!"
See,
Like
an Irish
mortifying
person
me
wouldn't
back
do that
here.
unless they were hammered. I love it.
I mean, I wouldn't. I'd never say it on stage. That's a bit too much, I'd never
Yeah,
say
but he's just saying it because then he's gonna go into a bit about that's being a little mean to me. So,
No.
which I don't mind. It's just this
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
where I said I saw
Is
hundreds.
he
of
opening
dicks.
for you tonight as well?
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
gonna
Who's
be good.
MCing?
Oh,
Are you
would you
MC?
want to? We haven't even talked about this.
Yeah, we can do Rox's paper. One of us can go up and just introduce and say, and then bring Leyland on, and then
Speaking of MCing, we better
better
open the
start.
doors.
Okay,
It's 4
perfect.
past 8, and yep.
cool. Also, just to tie it up, biggest sicko that you've met talking about sex, any or what was the weirdest thing that someone was into in the shift?
I guess there was a woman on talking about some guys who would come into this, like, she was like a madam of a house, and they would like pay to get weird things done, like a nurse cutting them, or like like kinks like that. And then she said that the Hasidic Jewish men would come in a lot there because they can have sex with prostitutes, or they can get that stuff if the money's changed over, and they would get stuff like like wearing a nappy or stuff. Obviously not all Hasidic Jewish, if any of you are listening to this, but just specific ones. She said she noticed a lot coming in there because there was like a loophole in whatever their way of thinking, because they're not allowed to touch other women outside the religion, but if there's money passed over, they can.
Is that in the Old Testament? Some like justification
God, I have
that
no idea.
they.
Probably.
But so then they'd go
Probably.
in
I
and
must
they'd
look
get
at
a
that.
lot
Oh,
of
I'd be
these
Old
kinks,
Testament.
you know.
I'd love a good
But
justification.
that's what she said anyway. But yeah, and it's just
I'm wearing a nappy right now under my jeans.
Yeah.
Old
But yeah, so
Testament.
that was it. I need to go to the toilet before this starts.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
go for it.
Thanks, Katie. Everyone, Katie Boyle.
Katie Boyle.
Thanks.